Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television.
Well, hello and thanks for staying with us on the program today, Economy in Focus. As the name implies, it is a program where we get to discuss things that happen in the economic sector, talking about stock exchange, capital market, and more. Well, today on the program, I have a guest with me who is a resource person. He is an information professional and policy analyst, no other but Ogunloye Benedict Olalikon, to have to dissect the program with us today this morning. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right. So today we are discussing a significant development in the Nigeria's agribusiness sector. Well, the federal government has signed a deal with Brazil. This is actually to boost the private sector investment. Joining me, as I said, is Mr. Olalikon to dissect this topic of discussion. Well, diving into it, let's understand the deal right now. Can you explain the details behind this deal and what is actually the benefit? What will Nigeria benefit from this business?
Well, from the name, the idea of the partnership or the MOU is to modernize the Nigerian agri sector. Now, for me, therefore, the agreement will come in the form of what you could see as, I see it as a pilot scheme, because if you are thinking of engaging one agropreneur or agri-based firm per local government, then you know that definitely a lot of spaces will not be covered. However, within the space that is being covered, the main objective, like we said, is to modernize the agri sector. So you are looking at technology as number one. There will be technology. You are bringing in a technology know-how. You are definitely bringing manpower development and knowledge, because without knowledge you cannot correctly apply the technology. Exactly. Of course, you're also looking at funding coming in. So basically, we're looking more at the input end. The input end would include technology, would include funding, would include capacity building. And when that comes in through these selected partners across the 774 local government, then you expect that an organic drive will come in that will stimulate and move things across the nation. So it's not just an activity that is confined to one corner. So what you expect at the end of the 5 years for which the partnership will run is that there would have been an expansion, there would have been growth, there would have been prototypes that are tested and trusted, that other farmers who are possibly not included in the 774 or thereabout that will start will be able to tap into and leverage upon.
Okay, so what are the key objectives of this whole thing? What is the outcome? What are the expected outcomes of this?
No, expected outcomes will be that when you look at seed technology, you are getting improved seed. It's obvious that some of our seeds are not good enough at the moment, because if you are going to drive yield per hectare, for instance, you are going to be looking at seeds that can produce more. If I've got a maize that can produce 1 or 1.5 cobs at the moment, and you're able to come in with a maize brand that will possibly give 3 to 4 cobs, it means that you can double your earning and double the output in a single hectare. So seed improvement is definitely going to be one of the benefits that you will get from it. So we're going to have improved seedlings in the areas to be covered, in cassava, in maize, in cowpea, right, in sorghum, which has been selected. Those areas we will have improvement. And we also need to know that those are also the areas where the NISA risk, that's Nigerian Agricultural Risk Insurance Services, had also covered over the last 8 to 10 years, which means that we already have a template in place that tells you which of this crop is grown in which state and where. So you expect that when the partnership will take off clearly in those states that grow the crops, you will be concentrating on the crops and the activities that are in those states. So with an improved seedling, you expect that there will be better result. With the application of the right technology, you will expect better result. With the production or improved capacity for fertilizers, you will get better result. And of course, when the people are trained, they will know when to do the planting. So it's not just about cultivating the ground and putting the seed there. It is that there would have been some measure of training and some measure of capacity building for the farmers and the farming community, for instance, to be able to use the forecasting, because the meteorology agency or NIMET would always give us some measure of forecasting. So the season in Nigeria and the weather seems to always change. So for rain-fed agriculture, therefore, you need a proper understanding of the predictions and the forecasting that is coming from NIMET. So I believe that part of the capacity building should be to link the farm, of course, to having those understanding. And of course, the fundings are going to come. And I want to believe that the issue of picking one partner per 774 local government should actually be for the purpose of the initial funding that is coming from the partnership.
Okay, now you talk about funding, you talk about training. That's to improve productivity.
Yeah.
So what about access to the market?
Well, I really do not think that we have a major problem of access to the market, because there are no evidence at the moment to show that we have crops that are produced and we cannot sell. If we have post-harvest decomposition, it is not because there is no market. It has to do more with the fact that there are no adequate, for some, it has to do with the road network. For some, it has to do with the weather. For some, it has to do with infrastructure, and less to do with the market. But of course, if you have development partner coming from a global space, they are used to doing a lot previously. So you expect, therefore, that there will also be room for more off-takers to come into the system to help in driving the process. Because like we said, the reality is it's not about the market, it's about productivity. So if you are sure of upping productivity, I'm sure that the middlemen and the off-takers are always present. So they will definitely come in if they are sure there will be product to take.
And they will find a way to take it to the market.
So they know the market already. They can take it to the market. But the problem is they don't go to some areas because they are not sure that they can get the right quantity to purchase. So we already now have nominated agencies or nominated agripreneurs to partner with the system. You are sure that, okay, if we call on these agripreneurs, they are sure of their output, they are sure of their product quality, and then you can take it and you can prepare it for the international market and be able to sell. But remember that we also are a heavy consumer of what we produce.
Exactly.
We possibly produce the highest cassava in the world, about 20 to 25% of global output. But we also don't export because it's not even enough for us to consume. But if production goes up, maybe we move from the current 10 to 12 tons per hectare to about 20, 25, 35 that IITA says is possible, then we can double the current production, and then we have enough to eat and we have enough to export.
All right, so talking about the implementation and challenges now, what role do you think the private sector can play to implement this deal, and what are actually the expected benefits for Nigerian businesses?
Obviously, if it's going to bring technology, it's going to bring capacity building, and will bring funding, then we know that the benefit available to the Nigerian system is immense. I have not seen the template of how the implementation will run.
Okay.
But I want to believe that the purpose is of talking about 774 local government is to look at private sector organizations that have presence, physical presence at the moment in those local government and in those geographies, and who will be able to run the schemes as may be required. So it may not be, in the end, we may not have 774 organizations being represented. They may be 500, they may even be less, because there are organizations that are driving processes in more than one local government. There are organizations that are driving processes in more than one state. But obviously, from the context, from the inception, the idea is that funding will be made available to partners who have spread or who are represented in all the local government, but not more than one firm per local government at this stage. So what you therefore expect is that, yes, the private sector can participate, but it's going to be major stakeholders. As it is, the smallholders, farmers, may not be able to benefit directly at this stage. But I want to believe, however, that of course, if the cooperative societies are also treated as existing organization, it then means that in some local government, it will not be a one-man business that will be involved. It will rather be a cooperative that brings together about 20 or 100 farmers. And so in that instance, therefore, whatever benefit comes in, especially where their farms are contiguous, I think that has always been one of the campaign of NISA, that farmers in cooperatives should have contiguous land. When you have contiguous land, it's easy to apply inputs, it's easy to work with you, it's easy to access the farm or to create access. Not that one person is here, another one is in Maitama, the next one is in. But if they are all within the same zone, you can talk about assessing the market, you can talk about taking out the product, you can talk about using machineries for them, you can talk, of course, about getting inputs that can help their processes. So to a large extent, I think that the private sector will be fully involved. But the smallholders farmer, if the cooperatives are not engaged, are the people that may have issues.
Wow. So, but is there a timeline for this implementation? I mean, what are the milestones that need to be achieved?
Well, it's a 5 years agreement from the way they are explaining it to us. But you expect that in the first 6 months, everything relating to identifying the partners, bringing them together, should have been completed. And so we expect that by the start of the next rainy season, some of the events or some of the effects should begin to come out to play. They should begin to define what fertilizers is required. Now, the fertilizer requirement across the nation is not the same. The maybe other chemicals requirement are also not the same. In some environment, the insect that is their trouble is not the case elsewhere. The issue with cassava in some part of the coastal area is not the issue with cassava in the Midlands. So to a large extent, all we expect that over the next 6 months, all the existing research and all the existing data relating to the production of the various crops would have been put together. And so you know that if you are in Taraba and you want to do cassava or you want to do maize or you want to do this in this local government, or these are all the crops that can be done in each of the local government, perhaps you are taking only 3, right? And then all the necessary information required for the 3 to be appropriately done should have been done. So we expect that by the next rainy season, for instance, the agreement should have begin to run. The funds should begin to come in. Of course, over the next 2 months, we expect that the tractor, there is a tractor and equipment company that was launched some months back, that their output should begin to come out. So if these funding are coming in, of course, the funds should be able to attract some of the locally produced tractors to help the farmers. So I'm sure at the end of the first year, all foundational arrangements, all trainings, all assigning of organization to be involved should have been fully implemented, after which they can begin to think of running. And of course, they need not forget that there are areas where what we do is what you call rain-fed agriculture. But smart agricultural practices should also be part of the capacity building that will be coming into place. A Lagos person, for instance, should not be thinking of an hectare to plant tomato or beans, but rather he should be thinking of a greenhouse technology, in which case with just 1 acre you can do what is done with an hectare or more in the places where there is land.
Okay, when you were talking earlier, you made mention of maybe by the end of 1 year,
Yeah.
one should be able to, the foundation should have been laid, everything should have been. So, how long do you think it will take for Nigerians to start seeing results?
Well, we should start seeing some results before the 1 year will end.
Before the 1 year lapses?
Yes, because definitely there are some low hanging fruits. Like you said, we could get tractors around. So you don't need 6 months to get tractors into Nigeria. And to get funding, any form of fund transfer will get in within a week in the modern technology age that we are in. So it means that whatever system will be designed, NISA is already in place as far as I'm concerned if you're talking about funding insurance. So it should therefore be that we are bringing in what we already have to work with what we are bringing. And I believe that this agreement shouldn't be the only agreement that would happen in the agro sector. It shouldn't be. There should be others that are coming. Because if this is looking at one agency per local government, it's very, very small. But if effectively run, it can be good. Some local government can feed their state if they are properly monitored. So we expect that the impact and the effect on both the market and on food security, we should begin to feel that before the end of the first year.
All right, well, let's take a quick pause here. Don't forget the program Economy in Focus will continue shortly. Don't go away.
Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sport and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television. Welcome to Asset Television.
Well, many thanks for staying with us. If you are just joining us, you are watching the program Economy in Focus with me, Eugenia Solomon, and of course, my resource person, Mr. Olalikon. He is an information specialist and a policy analyst, an information professional and economy and policy analyst. Thank you for being here with us.
You're
and
welcome.
we're actually talking about the signed deal between the federal government and Brazil to boost agribusinesses. Well, let me ask you this. Can you bring us up to speed with the potential challenges that need to be addressed?
Well, like we have stated, number one will be policy deployment. Yes, we have stated in black and white, there will be technology transfer, there will be capacity building, there will be input in the area of fertilizer and improved seedlings. So the question will be, are you starting these things afresh or you are engaging existing structure? You've got a seed crop research institute in Nigeria already. What are their designs? You have IITA doing a lot. There is the CIGR group. Of course, we have many others like that. Root crop research. You have NISA. So what we would want to see in the immediate is being able to leverage on the results that are available from these places. Is there any process to get that used? Or are we thinking of a brand new system to study into seed? I know years back, was it the federal, then they were called Federal College of Agriculture. Akure. I don't know what they call them now. But we used to go to them to get seed.
Okay.
Maize seed. When you bring the maize seed in those days, as against the 72 to 90 days that you have locally, theirs was 42 to 60 days. So you are sure that when you plant, in the next 42 or 45 days, you can go there and check and you begin to get maize to eat. And by 60 days, everything is fully matured. You are done with harvesting, which tells you that within the same rainy season, you can actually plant maize 3 times as against the 2 times that is possible with the local maize. But right now, we wouldn't know what has happened to those seeds. So I want to believe that if we will leverage on existing research, right, and then fund that so that they produce more and we have enough seedlings, that would not be a big challenge for us to take off. But if you are going to invest in fresh research, then there might be issues because it will take a longer time. So the issue of knowing what we have and leveraging on them in terms of research potentials and existing resources will help. But if they will not leverage on that, of course, there will be teething challenges for takeoff. And of course, like we said about the funding, yes, they have said it will be one per local government or whatever, but whatever process will be used, again, we also need to look at where are the banks, where are the organizations, what are their current level of participation, where are the lands located, so that we don't just say, now some local governments in Niger State are bigger than some states in the south. I think Bogu local government is bigger than Ekiti State, is bigger than virtually all the states in the southeast. In fact, it's 2.5 times the size of Anambra State. So,
you think, or you're sure?
I'm sure that it is 2.5 times. Anambra is just about 4,004 square kilometers.
Okay.
While Bogu is 10,000. It's over 10,000 square kilometers. So it's 2.5 size. The size. So you therefore expect that when you must leverage on those data so that you are not allocating the same quantum of output to a local government, expected output to a local government in Lagos or Anambra State, as to what you are applying to Bogu or to some of the local governments in Taraba.
Okay, so how will this impact Nigeria's food security, and what measures should be put in place to ensure that the benefits of the partnership are equitably distributed?
Well, how would it impact local food security? It should, because, like I said, there are data to show who produces what. And so if you are coming in to invest in the areas where each state has comparative advantage. Right? When you do that, of course, because there is also data of output, we know where the markets are. That you produce the yam in Niger, Benue, or Taraba doesn't mean it ends there. You know that some of them have to be sold in Kano, Lagos, and Rivers. We know there are some have to be sold maybe in some other states in the nation. But of course, data must be available to show what is being done per state, then to be able to drive the outputs and ensure that we have the right results. But know how we must expect, or we know that if the output begin to come out, it must necessarily impact our food security. And that's why I would always say number one food in Nigeria is beans. It doesn't matter what some girls will say. They will tell you they don't eat beans, but they eat moi, they eat akara, and other things like that. So to a large extent, we eat a lot of beans. So if you are thinking about food security, beans and cassava for me comes before rice. Rice is number 3. In fact, maize should even sometimes come before rice, because our poultry depends on maize, and our life depends largely, to a large extent, on egg and meat that comes from the poultry. So these 4 items must not be excluded in any way. And then when you are now looking at maybe cash crops, you're looking at ginger, you're looking at cocoa, you're looking at rubber. Of course, in areas where you have palm, we should also be thinking of cottage oil mills. It should
Okay.
be included in whatever the agreement are, so that you know that the palm trees are already in place in most places in Edo, in Delta, in Cross River. The palm trees are already there. So you
Okay.
just need to empower them at that level to produce more oil.
All right. So, how will the partnership with Brazil enhance Nigeria's competitiveness with the global market?
The truth is, apart from cocoa, we don't have any crop that I think that we are majorly competing with Brazil. So that means that basically, if that organization, but Brazil is largely a tropical country. So if the organization we are partnering with has sufficient experience in the Brazilian landscape, then they should also be able to bring that experience to bear on what happens in Nigeria. So definitely we expect that it will impact us positively. It will improve the technology. It will teach us, it will add to our knowledge base, and that can then even affect other sectors. Because like you have said, you are bringing in only one local government. Now in the 80s, there was a cassava that was, I think, 6 months cassava. Some people brought it into the village for one big farm. Of course, every other farmer go there to collect it. About a year or two thereafter, you will realize that virtually every farmer that grow cassava has that seedling at the time that matures 6 to 8 months. They were not involved directly in the process. It was just one organization that brought it in, but it has a spillover effect. So if this is also well managed, we expect that even the smallholder farmers who may not be directly involved in the process will benefit from the technology, from the knowledge, and from the capacity building that will be deployed.
All right, thank you so much. Well, that has been a discussion with an information professional and policy analyst, Mr. Ogunloye Benedict Olalikon. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
You're welcome.
And I am your host, Eugenia Solomon. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode. All right, keep a date with us. Thank you for watching.
Welcome to Asset Television, your best station for news, politics, business, sports and entertainment. Your one-stop channel, Asset Television.